Hey guys, David here from Dublin Academy of Education. Today we're going to take a look at factorising quadratics, specifically using the guide number method. Now, there's loads and loads and loads of methods out there. There's the big X method, there's the box method. Your teacher may have shown you a different way. I'm just going to show you a way called the guide number method here that tends to work for a lot of students, that tends to get them out of kind of difficult quadratics where you have a difficult question, maybe some weird numbers, and you're trying to factorise it. This method can really help. So what are the steps? Well, the first step is multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant. Now, what does that word mean? Coefficient. The word coefficient just means the number in front. So for example, down here, you've got 2x squared. The coefficient is 2. It's just a number in front. Constant is just a number by itself. So minus 40 there's no x squared. That's the constant. Minus 45 there, right? So we're going to multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant. So let's do that for this first question here. What would be the coefficient of x squared? Well, there is no number in front, so the coefficient would be 1. So we're going to multiply 1 by minus 40. So 1 multiplied by minus 40, what does that give you? It gives you minus 40. Step 2 tells us to find the factors of that number, and that's why we call it the guide number, hence the guide number method. Find the factors of that number that add to give the coefficient of x. Right. What are the factors of minus 40? Write them out. You're going to have 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 3 doesn't go in, you're going to have 4 and 10, and then 5 and 8. Is there any of those factors that you could potentially add or subtract to get this number here, minus 3? Well, 1 and 40, no, not going to happen. 2 and 20, no. 4 and 10, you're getting closer, but no. 5 and 8 though. You could absolutely add or subtract them to get minus 3. So what are we going to do? Well, this is where a lot of people struggle, knowing which sign to use. Test one, right? I don't know. We're going to have a plus and a minus because it needs to multiply to give us minus 40. So let's say minus 5 and plus 8. Multiply them together. Does minus 5 and plus 8 give you minus 40? Yeah, use your calculator. It absolutely gives you minus 40. But now add them. Add minus 5 and plus 8. That gives you plus 3. We want minus 3. So let's go the other way around. Let's try plus 5 and minus 8. Same, multiply them, give you minus 40, yes. But then if you add those two together, plus 5 and minus 8, what you get is minus 3, which is what we want. The third step, once we've found these two factors, is to split up your x term. So we're going to rewrite this quadratic, but instead of minus 3x, we're going to take these two numbers. So we're going to say x squared plus 5x minus 8x and then minus 40. We've rewritten that minus 3x and we split it up into plus 5 and minus 8. There's still minus 3x there, we've just written it differently. Because now this is just a factorising question. It's grouping. We're going to factorise the first two terms, then the second two terms, and then we'll be able to group our brackets together. So what's in common between x squared and 5x? It's x. What would be left inside that bracket? It would be x plus 5. What's in common between minus 8x and minus 40? Well, they're both minus, so we'll take out a minus. 8 goes into 8 and 40, so minus 8. What would be left inside? It would be x plus 5. Minus 8 by plus 5 gives you minus 40. Just watch your sign on that one. What do you notice about the brackets? They're the same. So what we can do is we can put the other two terms into their own bracket, x minus 8 like that, and then have our x plus 5. And then there's your factors of that quadratic. So let's do another example with some slightly weirder numbers, right? What's our first step? Multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant. What's the coefficient here? The coefficient is 2. What's the constant? Minus 45. So we'll do 2 multiplied by minus 45. That'll give you minus 90. Write out your factors. Right? Well, you have 190, 2 and 45, 3 and 30, etc. And you keep on going until you get to 5 and 18. To find those factors, by the way, if you are struggling, just divide 90 by numbers. Divide it by 4, divide it by 5, divide it by 6, until you get the number that you need. 5 and 18, we could add together to give you minus 13. Again, if you don't know which signs to use, test one. We'll go minus 5 and plus 18. They multiply to give you minus 90. Yeah, but if you add them together, you get 13. We want minus 13. So let's swap the signs around. We get minus 13. So let's split it up. We're going to split it up into 2x squared. We're going to have minus 18x plus 5x and then minus 45. Now this looks like a bit of a complicated factorising. It really isn't. We'll take our first two terms separately, our second two terms separately, and we'll factorise it exactly like we did up above. So what's in common between 2x squared and minus 18x? It's 2x. What's left inside the bracket? It will be x minus 9. What's in common between 5x and minus 45? Well, 5. What's left in the bracket? It would be x minus 9. What do you notice about these two brackets? They're the same. What we can do is we can take our other two terms and put them in their own bracket. And so your final answer there for factorising this quadratic would be 2x plus 5 times x minus 9. The guide number method is a really useful way of dealing with these slightly more difficult quadratics. The slightly easier ones you can kind of just figure out, but as soon as you have a number in front of x squared here, this makes it very easy to pick out the factors and know what you need to do. I definitely practiced that method a couple of times because you're always asked to factorise or solve a quadratic on the Junior Cert, so make sure you know it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.